My background is in software development. Always wanted to build something of my own and start, like a lot of software developers, wanted to kind of get into, try build something. And I got chatting to a car dealership. Said there's a bit of a gap in the market here on how we and other dealers are managing their leads. All their leads are coming from online, but everything is entered manually. And a lot of the software packages out there for CRM are designed from the top down. So reporting at the top, what we need to do here, what we need to do here. And by the time it gets down to the receptionist or the salesperson actually selling the cars and using the system, it falls down.
And welcome to Dealer Tech Talk, the podcast where we explore the technology shaping modern dealerships. And I'm your host, Simon Verona. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Conor Moran from Eskimo Software, creators of the Eskimo lead generation system. And welcome, Conor.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me. Good to chat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this chat, I have to say.
Yeah.
I have to say, whilst I know you, I don't know a great deal about your background, and I'm sure a lot of my listeners don't really know Conor Moran that well by name, although they may know your company. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm a real international man of mystery, haven't I? So the story, so we're based in Ireland, as anyone who knows me will know, and anyone listening can probably tell. So basically, my background is in software development. And always wanted to kind of build something of my own and start, like a lot of software developers, wanted to kind of get into, just try build something. And I got chatting to a car dealership, not from the motor industry myself, which is actually proven as a major asset to our software, which I'll get into down the line, I guess. But got chatting to a motor dealer. He said there's a bit of a gap in the market here on how we and other dealers are managing their leads. All their leads are coming from online. But everything is entered manually and everything's done via email. So I would have gone away then. I was working in my day job, obviously. So on Saturday mornings, I would call around to dealerships and done a bit of market research, seeing what, whether it was worth quitting my job to do this, got building a proof of concept, quit the job and went to market. And then quickly realized that there was more to what that dealer was talking about, and that the software that they were using wasn't being used it wasn't capturing all the walk-ins even. It wasn't capturing a lot of the action. So what would happen would be that you'd get the lead come in at close to, maybe every time a person is quoted, you get
a very high conversion ratio, which is obviously
this is it. Yeah. And then people, like anyone I called it, they complained about the software they were using, which, I'm sure people think about our software as well. It's kind of human nature, but I found that the usability of the software wasn't there. So took that away. Probably had about 40 dealers input, took that away and kind of just tried to design. What we realized is that a lot of the software packages out there for CRM are designed from the top down. So reporting at the top, what we need to do here, what we need to do here. And by the time it gets down to the receptionist or the salesperson actually selling the cars and using the system, which if the system's not being used by those people, it falls down. We just from talking that we decided that we'd build the software from the ground up. So anyway, you asked me about my story. So basically, kind of went to market with the product in 2017, based in Ireland at this stage only. First hire then, Graham, our head of development, was in 2018. We now have a team of 12 people across Ireland and the UK, and we have business in Ireland, UK, and the Middle East. And we're really in a growth phase we're industry standard as described by other people in Ireland. And we're in the growth phase in the UK now. And I guess I mentioned that I'm not from the motor industry, so I've never sold a car in my life. So, and it was just me in the business at the start. I wouldn't be able to. It was just me in the business at the start. So every feature, every nook and cranny of the piece of software was put in through customer research and chatting with the guys using the software on the ground and managers what they need to see. And, it'd be great if we did this. And that's ingrained in our DNA as a company now, and how we communicate and how we deal and we onboard customers. It's a very one-to-one, as much as we can. As you get bigger, it gets harder, but very one-to-one collaborative process as much as we can without affecting what we have there already. So that's where I say, it sounds funny, me highlighting that I'm not from the industry straight from the bat, but it's actually been a boom now. Of course, we have industry people working for the company, but
it does actually strike me that. So, I mean, obviously, I have a slightly different background. I mean, I never worked in the motor trade, but I grew up in the motor trade. My
Yeah.
father ran car dealerships when I was a child. I spent my school holidays, answering the phones on service reception, or doing paperwork or photocopying, or stock checking.
Yeah.
I grew up in the motor trade and knew how it worked. And for me, in what I do, that was always a business, a benefit. My software is very much on dealer processes, end-to-end processes, and managing those processes and understanding how that worked. CRM lead generation is slightly different because it's much more, I guess, generic in concept. Marketing is marketing, leads are leads, cars are the product. A car can be a product. It could be stamps. It could be anything really. They have their nuances.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you felt that that not knowing the trade was a benefit.
Yeah.
Can we just revisit that for a second? Because I think most people would say the opposite. That
Yeah, exactly.
knowing the trade is the benefit. What makes
it sounds
that?
funny me saying that. So to start with, I think like a good founder leans on their strengths. So like your strength is knowing that you lived and breathed it as a youngster, so you knew kind of the processes, so you lent on that. And then, but the strength I see with it is this. So we made. When it was just me building the software, so the biggest thing about software is make sure you don't build you could spend years building something that people don't want. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest crime in software, in product creation, software creation. So from day one, literally had no other choice than to sit down with people using the system and do that one-to-one market research or product research with the customer, saying, would it be better if it did this? So there's very little. Now things have changed. Now we kind of have a good bit of market knowledge and stuff like that. But the market research, and it's the lean methodology, I guess, for product development. Don't build anything until you're sure people will pay for it, basically. So our product, there's no assumptions made from my end. That's the advantage that we see in the product, and we're hearing it back from dealers as well. There's no assumptions made that this is the way salespeople will want to use the software, because bear in mind, we're building it for salespeople, we're building it for marketeers, we're building it for receptionists, we're building it for same as your software. So if we start to make assumptions, it's not going to be right for everybody, and it's very hard to get it right for everybody. But I think that's key, in that to get a system that will be used, you need to really have that ingrained in the company culture, the company kind of DNA, that we depend on the customer feedback to build and enhance the product and move the product forward.
So I guess sort of like so you perceive that you're not perceive, you are, because you're very successful at what you do. Your skill is taking what your customers and prospective customers are telling you they need and converting that into product that delivers on that need.
Pretty much, yeah. No, we don't put all our suggestions in. That's impossible. We used to, but not anymore. But we've gotten very good at realizing what's good for that customer, and even if it's good for one customer, we'll often put it in because it's just going to improve their lives. Like at the end of the day, we get paid to make the dealers' lives easier and help them make more money. So if and what better way to find out that by asking them what's going to make your life easier, and letting them. And as you know, I'm sure dealers are very forthcoming with ideas and issues with the way things are done and changes, and we're constantly changing even the core aspect of our product to constantly be improved, while also looking at the bigger picture stuff, like long-term projects and blue sky stuff that we're working on. But yeah, that's kind of part of our core DNA is customer research, I guess.
I share that. I think in our product, in the Navigator products that I spend my life working with, I think talking to dealers, I always find that dealers don't necessarily know what they want, but they do know the problem they're trying to solve. Yeah. And the skills that we provide, and it sounds like you provide exactly the same, is kind of interpreting that and what the problem is, what they think the end result they want, and to providing a solution to get to that point, or maybe sometimes get to a point that isn't quite where they think they should be, but actually where they really should be in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that, because obviously the more customers we get and you get, the more we know what other dealers are doing and what works for everybody else. And as well, you touched on it there, like customers, and it's the same for everybody, like customers will often not know they want something until they kind of start using the software, and they go, "That's really cool." But what would dial this up to 11 is if it did X or it did Y, and then that's when it starts to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for me, that's 27 years worth of software development has been done by customers doing exactly that. Or actually more, I don't know that you do the same as we do. I spend a good deal of time with customers, and I know you do as well. And I quite often go to a dealer and just sit in the background. I'm not there to have any agenda. I'm not meeting anybody. I'll just sit there and watch them use software. And I find I learn so much just sitting there watching people do things and thinking, God, that's really torturous, that bit. Let's make that bit easier, or let's do that, or they're doing this over here in this spreadsheet. Let's just replace that. Let's do something that does that, so they haven't got to take that step away from what we do.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially on like dealer training, like Brian, our head of sales in Ireland, would do a lot of the training, but he will be sitting there with guys and gals, training them up. And it's in that training that we really figure out how they use it. Do you know what I mean? They go, "Oh, but how do I do this?" And it's just, it amazes me what stuff we come across after doing this for so long with so many customers. There's new ways of doing things constantly. And it's fun, to be honest, most of the time.
You must get the same comments that I always get. Even after, and I've been doing this for 40 years now, so a little bit longer than you, but not that you didn't do it long enough to have a product that does the job. Is somebody will ask you a question and you'll go, "Oh," and they go, "You can't tell me I'm the only person that does this," and you think
constantly, yeah. And then you're and then you say, "I can't believe I haven't been asked that before." It happened this last week. I can't remember the subject, but I remember saying that last week. But it's definitely like not making assumptions. And there's like Facebook and all those big companies. They've pumped millions of pounds and euros and whatever into product development and product research, and that's literally going out and talking to people. Whereas, and at that scale you have to, but whereas for mine and yours case, it's just the way we do things, it's just how we go about doing it. So it's, we're obviously doing something right if the Metas of the world and the Googles of the world are spending millions on doing the same. So
yeah, absolutely. So just talk about your customers. So when you go and talk to a dealer, what is the driving factor? What when you first talk to a dealer, what are the key problems that they are looking to solve that they haven't got today?
Yeah, usually it's kind of one of two things. It's a lack of transparency over their processes, be that marketing process, sales process, and all that sort of stuff, or it is just if maybe they're using a current system that just doesn't do the job for them. They're just like it. So what we notice, right, is that if there's a less efficient system in place, it becomes a full-time job chasing the sales team and everyone is just to use that system. And then it's being used right before the sales meeting. The data is it's not accurate, and that's obviously a big problem. And then that leads into the other side, is the lack of transparency. So I guess I haven't talked about the product itself yet, really. Just talking about myself. But our product basically solves the problem in that it's all your online leads come in, like pretty much all of them, like WhatsApp, Facebook, Auto Trader, every online lead, and we're not the only ones to do that. But then also all your walk-ins, and we integrate with phone systems. We do all of that good stuff. So, and there's one true picture for every customer, one true record for every customer on the system. Now, obviously, you can have multiple inquiries from a walk-in to Auto Trader to WhatsApp, all that sort of stuff. So you'd have multiple inquiries, but to be one customer record, and that does two things. That does a number of things. That means that there's one true lead source for the customer. So that means like dealers are spending exorbitant amount of money on marketing and driving customers to their business. But you're losing a few bucks in the background there. But the money, it's hard to get a picture sometimes on what the actual driver for that customer to the business was. So if you have one true record, so if the customer comes to you from Auto Trader, obviously you need to look at their WhatsApp conversation and maybe their Facebook inquiry, but Auto Trader is the money you spent that drove that business.
I have to say, I mean, I always amused me when you see, when you talk to a sales exec and they'll, where did that lead come from? It was a walk-in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he just walked past the dealership and thought he'd come in and have a look at a car, did he? Did he see an advert? What advert did he see? Where did he can't have been, it's very rare. I mean, you do get walk-ins, but it's very rare that somebody walks in and that's his first contact with the dealership. It used to be. I mean, I always remember when I was a kid, when I was like about this high, you'd get back in the early 80s. I'd go to the dealership, say work on a Saturday, and sit there, and I'd sit in the showroom or something, or washing the petrol pumps or something stupid like that, and you'd see people walking onto the used car display, and you would do the old walking up and down the car, looking at each car in turn, sort of going through their mental checklist about whether this car was good for them or not, and they were sort of generic people who just knew your name, came onto the site and were looking for a car, and then they'd go down the road to the next dealership and the next dealership. And that's the way cars used to be sold. Now, if you go into a dealership, and you see it, I'm sure, same as I do, people walk in, they don't look down lots and lots of cars. They're looking for that one car they've already seen somewhere else. And it's a binary decision. Am I going to buy that car, or am I going to go somewhere else? It's literally as simple as that. You only have one opportunity to sell that car, and lots of opportunities to lose them on the way.
Yeah, and exactly that. Like, there are some walk-ins, but we have dealerships that disable the walk-in option for lead source, and we have some cool features such that, like, if a call comes in from the website, say if a customer calls you from the website, we can have call tracking and all that sort of stuff. But then if the customer was to walk in and be entered as a walk-in, we can look up. Obviously, when the call comes in, all we have is the number and the phone call duration and stuff like that. But we can look. Yeah. A customer gives their phone number to be entered onto the system. They're entered as a walk-in.
Go back to the call logs.
Yeah, we know. That's actually an Auto Trader lead. Let's give, that's a website lead. Let's give the website the credit for that lead, and we know that the money we pumped in. Blah blah blah. You know where I'm going, but it just kind of refines the logic. And the key to this as well is that actually doesn't take any extra effort from this person, the receptionist or the salesperson entering the data. It's just they're just going about their day, and the data's being refined in the background wherever we can.
That's interesting. Just flipping subjects a little bit more now. So you obviously, one of the challenges for a lot of dealers, I think, is data. Is using, having, one customer database, and it's quite common that, your CRM system, your lead management system becomes a data silo of itself. You've talked about how you link it up with, say, the lead generation system from the website and Auto Trader, so you've got that data coming into it. How do you, how do you work with, say, I don't know, DMS systems and other systems in there to provide that full customer experience? Because obviously, once somebody buys a car, they come in, they have it serviced, they might buy some parts, they might have other transactions in the business, which are all of them relevant to that customer journey when it comes back in. I mean, I know as a consumer that the worst thing that always bugs me is you go in to buy a car from a dealer that you've had your car serviced at, and the sales guy has no concept of who you are or what car you've got or when you last came to see the dealership, and that you actually are a valued customer already. Yeah. It's just somebody new to sell a car to.
Yeah. So it's like integrations. Like, we decided a while back that integrations were going to be the key to our success wherever we could. Like, it's a real bugbear for dealerships that they have multiple, like, as you said, silos of data and processes. So if we can try our best to become the hub of all of that, we would. And we're working hard. We must have well over 100 integrations with at this stage now, well coming up on it. But in terms of the DMS integration in particular, as you mentioned it there, so on rollout we'll do a customer import, so customer export from the DMS and an import. So every salesperson's historic data is on the system. So because obviously a good salesperson is getting repeat customers. So if you don't have that history there, we're starting from scratch, and that's not there. And then every DMS is different. Obviously with Navigator, we've got a really good integration. But like, every DMS is different in terms of the level of integration we can have. But we have integrations with most DMSs now. And we would be more often than not two-way data sharing. So new customers on the DMS will feed across to Eskimo and vice versa where required, and some of the order data will feed across to the DMS and vice versa. It depends on the shape, but there is a porous kind of a, for want of a better term, like data flow between the DMS and our lead management system wherever we can. Obviously, as I said, they all differ, but we work very hard on, because that's a huge part of the flow, because it has to go onto the DMS at some stage, realistically, if you convert. So it's something we take seriously and have put a lot of manpower into building. And
I mean, I'll echo that. I mean, I know from our perspective, we spend a good proportion of our development time these days in not necessarily enhancing our product specifically, but enhancing the integration of workflows, so that you're not continually moving between systems or re-entering data between systems, but also then managing that data and making sure that you're not creating that data silos all the time. And I see that a lot in a lot of standalone systems, standalone lead management, standalone CRM systems. You see that all the time, and I'm sure you've just explained that in exactly the same way. For me, if you've got a customer that's in your DMS, Mr. Smith, you've got his contact details, his email address. He then comes into the showroom, and he's into the CRM again. He doesn't buy a car that time. He decides, oh no, what? I won't buy a car now. I'll come back next year. But in that conversation, he's given you his new email address or his new mobile number or he's moved house. Then suddenly you've got the data in the CRM, but then the data in the DMS doesn't reflect that change. Now you've got two bits of data for the same record. One of them might be right, because you can get the other way around, of course. Customer coming to the workshop after he buys a car and tells you some new details. You've got two bits of data you can't trust, and it's not a case of you can trust one over the other. You can't trust either of them if you don't have that full synchronization of the data from end to end, so that you know that wherever you look in your CRM or in your DMS or anywhere else, that you're looking at that same view of the customer, knowing that they're fully in sync. So I'd echo that data, the integration is more than a small part of the equation. A lot of people think of it as a nice to have. For me, it's for success of anything that's doing with customer, it's almost critical.
Yeah, and it's challenging. It is hard to maintain all these integrations, and every software is different. But it's as I 100% agree with you, Simon. It's really important, and cool. Takes up a lot of our time.
So how do you find dealers adopt to a product like Eskimo? Do they find it easy to install? Do you find it easy to train, to get people up and running? It's in terms of, it's something we pride ourselves on, in that the speed to get up and running with our software. As I said from the start, we designed our software to be, as easy, almost like childproof, not to be, we tried to make it super simple. Now, parts of it are a bit more complicated, but the feedback we get, so we'll often send across login details ahead of training. So we'll just get them out there, just make sure everyone has them. So a few days ahead. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes, when we go out to training, I don't get out as often as I used to, but we get out to training, we'll go to show. So, I figured that out. Yeah, you don't need to show me how to do a quotation. Oh no, but this is how you add a finance. Oh, yeah, I've figured that out. So, and that's the best testimonial we can get. Someone who's figured out how to use your software without any training. Now, there's always going to be things that we need to show them where they are, but I think that's key, and it's probably something that we find from speaking to dealers that they don't have, in terms of lead management, and it's just that intuitive, easy to use software. And I know it sounds simple, and when I'm doing a demo, I'm showing features on it, just linking and things. There's no rocket science to our software. Mm-hmm. It's just really well designed, thought out, flow and easy to use software. There's no whatever, but it's just that. And to answer your question, the adoption. So we usually can get a dealer set up in 2 weeks. Realistically, there's a lot of third parties to contact in terms of listings and stuff like that. Then we organize training, and then we get them trained up, and then it's kind of like hypercare for a period of time. Now, if we need to build
soft an integration from scratch, like with a DMS or something, that just adds a bit more lead in time for testing and everything else. But on the main, we'll get rollouts done in 2 to 3 weeks, and then adoption is pretty quick, to be honest. That's what we pride ourselves on. Yeah.
So what is is there a typical Eskimo user? I mean, what sort of range of dealers will use that? Sort of independents, franchise groups, PLCs? What is the range?
I always get asked that, and I should have an answer really, but our users of our software range from one-man bands, two-man bands, where they're running the software from, because, like, for instance, for them, it's super easy because they have all their data there. They can, lead comes in, they get up on their mobile app and they say, call the customer, send a WhatsApp, all that sort of stuff. So it makes their life very easy. And then we go all the way up to, large groups, OEMs, everything like that. So, like, large groups, obviously the guys are still doing all that, but they get that data up at the top. And they get the reporting, and everything is streamlined into the system. And then for OEMs, we have a specific OEM dashboard. So, like, we're mandated by 6, if not by 7 OEMs. And basically what they will do is they'll mandate the software by other dealerships. Mm-hmm. And then from that, they'll get a dashboard of all the leads and lead activity that relates to their brand. Obviously, the dealers will be using it for everything, used cars, other brands, everything else. But they will only see the extract of what they need. So OEMs see real value in that, to make sure that the leads that they provide to the customers are being followed up on, and that everything's it just gives them data to run through, doesn't it? Like, it's data's the name of the game, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah.
Yeah. So and that's it. And then, of course, like, by mandating Eskimo share their brand and all of the other activity in the dealership, they're ensuring that it's using a state of the art piece of software, like a modern piece of software to manage their processes. So to answer your question, everybody and anybody, Simon, which isn't a great answer from a founder. Should have a more thought out, but it kind of is.
If they sell cars, it works for them.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here in 2025. Technology is changing. The motor trade is changing quite rapidly now. Where do you see those changes in terms of what you do, in terms of what technology is going to enable you to do moving forwards over the next coming years? What's the next things for Eskimo? Yeah,
so we're constantly... I find my job is deciding what not to do rather than what to do. So, like, there's so much stuff we have in our heads and what we want to build and what to do, and it's getting to it. But, like, we see, obviously, AI is, is there ever a conversation about technology that happens without mentioning AI these days? So we want to do some really cool. We want to do some really cool stuff about, around pricing, and even just a repeat customer. Like, remember you gave that example there where a customer comes in and they get a service, and they bought a car off us, and then they bought another car off us, and they traded in that. We want to basically summarize that using AI. Summarize and just make life easier for it. Again, comes down to the person using the software. They see someone coming in, they go, "Oh, that's Simon," get them up, and they get a little paragraph of everything that's happened with Simon in the last 5 years or whatever. Stuff like that. And obviously a big part of our product is online leads. So we're using AI to kind of streamline that a little bit. And then just had a conversation this morning, like, we were one of the first to market with the WhatsApp integration. Like, so WhatsApp for Business integration, where you could send and receive messages via WhatsApp. But Meta have really allowed developers to do a lot more now than they used to be when we started with it. So we've huge plans around that in terms of, there's just a lot of cool stuff you can do with that platform in terms of customer engagement, because it's all about getting in the customer's hands, isn't it? So, like, SMS, I don't know, I don't open every SMS I get anymore, definitely with email. WhatsApp, I never get a WhatsApp that I don't open. And, like, you can have very engaging content. You're fully engaged with that customer. Once you're on WhatsApp, you can have engaged call to actions, book an appointment through WhatsApp. So we really want to build on that. So I do think that customer to and fro with WhatsApp is going to change. And I think, well, like, it's just definitely the most kind of not disruptive, but you get what I mean. The most kind of thing that's going to change the most is AI, of course. It's just, we see it already happening. We get calls to integrate with a new AI company, like, literally every week. I'm not even exactly. That's not a turn of phrase.
No,
a new one every week.
The same.
Yeah. So
I think with AI, it's I find it quite amusing, quite interesting that sometimes the assumption is that because it's got the word AI in it somewhere, it must be brilliant, and the reality is very much from that. There are good AI products and really poor AI products, and it's as important with AI that you deliver intelligently into your business, AI
Yeah.
that makes a difference. Because if it doesn't, it can make things worse, not better.
Yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, I agree with you. It does vary, and it does some really, really good products out there. And then it's like some video products around there that are really cool, and some obviously communication. But I think the key to AI is it's the underlying data, isn't it? Like if you don't have access, data is the word that AI and data are the two words that we use all the time. But like if that data isn't there to power the really intelligent AI models, whatever it's doing, whether that's summaries, customer communication, vehicle videos, if that data isn't there, the AI loses its potency, which
It's
we
useless
obviously,
without it, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, that's the way we see it, and we can't.
In its training, doesn't it? If you haven't got the data to train the AI, it's working blind, and you're getting generic AI. You're getting nothing that really adds value in there.
Yeah, if it's not as good as human in terms of customer communication, we're going backwards. But it's all the data, and yeah, and obviously the type of software that we have and you have, it's data heavy, so we do see an advantage in that, and we plan on leveraging that in terms of that customer summary. I mean, the things I described there and pricing and stuff like that,
Okay.
we hope to do. Yeah,
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's probably about all the time we've got today. Thanks really much for joining me.
Yep.
That's I think it's quite exciting what you're doing there. I look forward to seeing some of that AI stuff as well, because that sounds really cool. And this was the Dealer Tech Talk podcast, and I'm Simon Verona. Thanks for listening today. Hopefully you found this episode useful. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, in association with the Dealer Tech Talk podcast, we have the Dealer Tech Talk guides, which give you nice, simple, downloadable guides that you can use on topics that we're talking about, that give you some good information, give you some good insights, some things that you can do today with your dealership. And I'm going to ask Conor after this if he's got a little download that I can add to that.
100%. I'm sure we do.
Perfect. So feel free to go to our website, www.dealertechtalk.uk. It's going to be in the show notes. And thank you to our sponsors, DMS Navigator, the DMS system that's designed to help make you more efficient, give you deliver better customer service, and make you more profitable. And My Old Companion, the app that helps you increase customer retention and lifetime profit from them. I'm Simon Verona. See you next time.
Thanks, Simon.